Today we're filming pen and we're going to work on the back structural line of the body. This is a trick in order to connect to the 8 primary points of attention that hold your back line structure. When you're ready, pin your right shoulder to the earth. Good. Best if palms are up.
Right.
Good. So squeeze that shoulder down, squeeze and breathe, squeeze and breathe. And release. Good. We're going to do it 3 times. Pin that shoulder, slide the shoulder blade down the back, have that shoulder anchor to the ground, breathe into it. Hold and breathe, hold and breathe. And release it. And again, 3rd time. Pull that shoulder down, hold and breathe. Good, squeeze it tighter. That's it. And release it. Good. Notice the difference of the shoulders. Left shoulder, palm up. Draw that left shoulder blade down to the ground. Activate it to the best of your ability. I know that you've been struggling in that one. So squeeze the left shoulder down and just make it the left one if you can. We're working the left and right switches of the brain in order to obtain this. So squeeze and hold, and release. Good. And when you're ready, left shoulder down, squeeze and hold. And release it. Take a clearing breath. And on your next exhalation, pin that shoulder to the earth, slide the shoulder blade down your back, and squeeze and hold it. Good. Another big breath in, squeeze and hold tighter, tighter, tighter. Yes, notice that whole rib basket just shifted. It was wonderful. And let that go. And release the shoulder. Feel free to do whatever you have to do. We're going to go to the next section of the body. So, we're going to activate the lower ribs. Right? Right lower rib, pull it down to the earth. No matter what you have to do, if other parts of the body lift up, that is okay. Just get the right rib down, squeeze and hold. Try to keep the left hip down. Actually, I should say that. But yep, try to keep the just balanced enough and pull that right rib down, squeeze and hold, squeeze and hold. Good, and release it. Good. And again, pin the right bottom ribs down. Squeeze and hold and squeeze and hold. Yep. Trembling is good. Release it. One last time. On your next exhalation, draw that lower right rib to the earth and hold it there. Good. Just breathe and hold, breathe and hold. The longer you hold the static activation, the more fire will build in the body, the more breath you're going to need to sustain. And release it. Good. Left lower ribs. Draw the left lower ribs down to the earth. Squeeze and hold, squeeze and hold. And release. Good. Again, left lower ribs. Yep, another breath, keep holding it down, static activation, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Really work on connecting that connection, and on your next exhalation, you can let that go. Good. And feel free to shake it out. We'll go to the next section. Yep. Good. Connecting it to all the right places. Good. Draw your right hip, your upper glute area down to the earth. Yep. Yep. Just notice as you're squeezing and holding, notice the dramatic shift in the feet. It's fine, it's okay. We're gonna change and work on that. Squeeze that right hip, breathe, breathe, breathe. Nothing changes without the breath. Good, and release it. Nice. And again, right hip down, squeeze and hold. Good. And release it. I believe that was 2 times. We'll do it a third. Beautiful. Yep. When you are ready, squeeze that right hip down and hold it. Squeeze that right hip down and hold it. Can you actively keep your right big toe mound down at the same time while squeezing and holding that right hip down? Lengthen through the toes to achieve it. Good. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And release it. Yeah. Oh, good. Left hip. Try to keep on that sacrum. Just pull it down. Act as you're using the muscles to pull it back. It's not about moving the bones. The bones will go along for the ride. Good. Notice how much of that left leg you have to open up in order to achieve it. First round, just notice it. Breathe and hold, breathe and hold. And release it. Good. On this next round, try to keep both feet flat on the ground while you pull. And just notice where you feel a tug of war happening in your body. So left hip down to the ground. Try to keep that right foot down. Can you feel it tugging the inner line of your body, the inner knees and everything else? That's where you're primarily stuck in this association. So that's your job, is to breathe through that tension. Meet that resistance with breath so that it will lengthen the connective tissue. Good, another breath there. Keep squeezing and holding, squeezing and holding. And release that. Good, we got one more time on that hip. When you're ready, left hip down. Try to keep those feet grounded to the ground. Good, squeeze and hold. Beautiful, keep going. Give you at least one more breath here. One more breath, squeeze and hold tighter, squeeze and hold tighter. Good, and on the exhale, you can let that go. Good. Now, here's where it's going to get complicated. Breathe. This is true brain gymnastics involved. Right shoulder down, left lower ribs. Make a connection between the right shoulder and keep the left lower ribs down at the same time. Nope, left lower ribs. Down. Yes. Right shoulder, left lower ribs. Can you feel that connection? There's a line of connection. Breathe it, strengthen it, breathe it, strengthen it. Another breath just like that. Squeeze that shoulder down, squeeze that left lower ribs down. Good. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And release it. All right. Left shoulder, right lower ribs. Left shoulder, right lower ribs. Make the line of connection, squeeze both of them down, activate the connective tissue between the two. So squeeze and hold, squeeze and hold. Left shoulder slides down the back. Spread your fingertips on your left hand. Reach your fingertips towards your feet. Good. Feel the difference? Good. Left shoulder, right rib. One more breath there. And release it. You may find you cramp up during this. That's a good sign. The cramping is your connective tissue.
Okay.
Yep. The cramping is often the connective tissue firing up and dragging across the muscles. That's the only way. It's an internal shift. It's an internal structural exchange. So the cramping is good. Breathe into it. Right shoulder, left lower rib again. Right shoulder, left lower rib. Breathe, breathe, breathe. No holding breath. Oh, good. That was really good. Really, really good. Another one, another one, another one, another one. Nice. Release it. Left shoulder, right lower ribs. Good. Notice the crisscross pattern that we're creating. Left shoulder, right lower ribs. Breathe it, squeeze it, breathe it, squeeze it. Good. And release it. Good. Right shoulder, left lower ribs. I find doing each one 3 times really sets it into the brain. Right shoulder, left lower ribs. Yep, check in with those feet. That was beautiful awareness. And on the next exhalation, release. Left shoulder, right lower ribs. I want you to notice that every time you do that left shoulder, you look over your left shoulder. And you don't do that on the right side. Just be aware of that. It's okay. It's not a judgment, it's an awareness. Isn't it interesting that in order to get my left shoulder down, my head and neck feel the need to rotate towards that shoulder? Just notice it and breathe. Most likely you have connective tissue bound up in the neck that will only gain access through the rotation. Good, hold it, hold it, hold it. Right ribs down, get them down. I know, that's so good, so good. Yeah, hold it now, do it again, another breath. We finally got those ribs down, connect it, fire it up. Left shoulder, right ribs, left shoulder, right ribs. And release it. Okay. Again, crisscross version. This time, you're going to do right lower ribs, left hip. Yep, think about it. Right lower ribs, left hip. Breathe it. Yup, that's it, buddy, that's it, yup. Yeah. Right lower ribs, left hip. Breathe and squeeze, breathe and squeeze. And release it. The next is the left lower ribs and right hip. Yep. Left lower ribs, right hip. Yep, get those ribs down. That's it. And breathe. Notice where you feel. Can you feel how your throat wants to lock up when you do that? Just be aware of it. Just be aware of it. That brings to your attention that there is a blockage in your throat that you avoid in your posture. Exactly, I know. Stick the tongue out. Get it out. Yeah. Whatever you have to do to create more breath is acceptable. Good. Left ribs are down. Get those left lowers down. And right hip. Again, activate it again. Left lowers, right hip. Left lowers, right hip. Breathe it. And on the next exhalation, you are allowed to release it. Good. Back to the right lower ribs, left hip. Yep. Right lower ribs are down, left hip down, breathe and squeeze, breathe and squeeze. Feel the line of connective tissue that connects those two places. That's it. One more just like that. On that next exhalation, you can release it. So inhale. Good. And release it. Left lower ribs, right hip. So work on getting those left ribs down and then connect it to the right hip. There's a line of beautiful connection, a line of energy. Long breath, get it into the body, squeeze and hold, squeeze and hold. That's it. On the next exhalation, squeeze tighter, 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 and release it at the bottom of that breath. Good. Whoo. Right ribs, left hip. Some serious brain gym, isn't it? Right ribs, left hip. Squeeze and hold. Yep. I often find that the inner child during this time can get fussy. Right? Just breathe and notice. Isn't it interesting I want to argue this? Isn't it interesting I don't want to do this? Isn't it interesting? Can you give that inner child something to interact with here that's more playful for it, so it stays present with it? Good, and release it on the next exhalation. Good. Left ribs, get those left ribs down, right hip. Left ribs, right hip. Squeeze and hold, squeeze and hold. Work on getting that left big toe mound down at the same time if you can do it. I just notice if you can or can't, don't lose the connection in the back. Everything else will fall into place. Left ribs, right hip, squeeze and hold tighter, 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 tighter. And at the base of the next exhalation, you can let it go. Yep, during that exhalation, you get tighter, 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 and then release it at the end. Beautiful. Okay, next level of complexity. Shake it out. Good. Yep. Nice. So we're going to go right, left, right, left, right, left. Right shoulder, left rib, right hip. Right shoulder, left rib, right hip. Squeeze and hold. Can you feel that? Like a little bit of a lightning bolt or a V. Good. Squeeze and hold, squeeze and hold. The breath is important. Good. Get tighter on the next exhalation. At the base of the next exhalation, you can let it go. Good. Left shoulder, right rib, left hip. Start to become aware of the pattern. Left shoulder, right rib, left hip. Good, breathe into that. Notice the shoelace-like sensation that we're creating. Good, breathe into that. Good. Next exhalation, you squeeze that even tighter all the way to the base and let it go. Right shoulder, left rib, right hip. Right, left, right. Right shoulder, left rib, left hip, right hip, sorry. Breathe into that. Another tight squeeze at the base, you can let it go. On the next exhalation, base, you can let it go, but squeeze tighter, 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 tighter. Activating through the connective tissue. The tighter you hold, the more the fibers and the nerve endings fire up and change the connective tissue and change your structure. Good. Left shoulder, right rib, left hip. Yep. Left shoulder, right rib, left hip. Breathe it. Beautiful. Another big breath in. See if you can get that breath beyond those clavicles. Keep breathing it in. Squeeze tighter, tighter. The whole exhalation, you're getting tighter in the squeeze, tighter in the squeeze, and at the base, you can let it go. Good. Right, left, right. Good. Right, left, right. Good. Squeeze and hold. Good. You can let it go on the second exhalation base. Squeezing tight, 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 tight. Good. Nice. Last time on the left shoulder side here, and then we up it again. Left shoulder, right rib, left hip. Just notice left, right, left. Beautiful. Hold and squeeze. Notice what part of that back shoulder is firing up and what parts of it don't want to fire up. Don't judge it, just notice it. Isn't it interesting I can only move it in this direction? Isn't it interesting it's not fully wanted to come down yet? I wonder how I can change that. Another breath in, big breath. Left shoulder, right ribs, left hip. Squeeze tighter on the exhalation. On the base of the exhalation, you can let it go. Good. Give me about 2-3 more breaths here. Just notice how the body has already shifted. Just notice. Now, right shoulder, left ribs, right hip. Make that connection.
What was that?
Right shoulder, left ribs, right hip. Can you simultaneously connect the left shoulder, right ribs, left hip? Can you feel the shoelace up the back? Crisscross, crisscross. So it's the right shoulder connects to the left ribs connects to the right hip, the left shoulder connects to the right ribs, and the right ribs connect to the left hip. Feel that crisscross, right? Breathe and squeeze, breathe and squeeze. Shoulder blades come down the back, ribs are down, hips are down. Gentle squeezing of those inner thighs to keep steadiness in the pelvis. So let those knees draw more, come up to ceiling with them. A gentle squeeze. Both big toe mounds are down. Squeeze and hold, squeeze and hold. Here. Can you breathe that? Breathe that. Another breath. And release it on the next exhalation. That is the primary structural lines, the primary curvatures of your back body. Now, we're going to finish it off with behind the skull. So, as if I place 2 little tiny weights on your earlobes, let the back of your skull draw down into the earth. Good, right there. So, right now you're on the occiput, that big ridge at the back of your skull. The left occiput behind the left ear connects to the right shoulder. And the right occiput behind the right ear connects to the left shoulder. But we're going to do that at the very end, okay? So get the whole back body, and then it's like tying a bow on top where the occiput is, okay? So, right shoulder, left ribs, right hip. Right shoulder, left ribs, right hip. Breathe into that. Left shoulder, right ribs, left hip. Left shoulder, right ribs, left hip. All 6 points crisscross up the back. Yes, breathe into that. Gentle squeezing of those inner thighs. Try to get them in a little bit closer. Good. Keep holding that back body. I just want you to notice how your chin is dropped over to the left there in order to gain, yep. Can you squeeze that back body? And now tie that ribbon behind your occiput. Let your shoulders now connect to the back of those ears and occiput area. Yes, just like that. Breathe that, breathe that, breathe that. Hold all 8 points and breathe. I want as much breath while holding and squeezing all 8 points together. See if you can do 3 more breaths like that while holding. These are the primary curvatures of the back part of the body. They are meant to line up. When they do, we can then start to activate and move through upper and lower torso more aligned. So this is how you want your back body to be before you do core work. We don't want those lower ribs popping off the ground. We want them down. Good. So connect all of those 8 points again when you're ready. And then I'm gonna make you do some basic leg movements just and see how, and you're not gonna go far. You're just gonna slowly move them. So again, as if I placed a ball in between your inner thighs, a little round ball in between your inner thighs. Hold that little round ball in between your inner thighs. Yep, not that small, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Good. Hold that. Connect all those 8 points. You got them? Shoulder to ribs, ribs to shoulder, ribs to hips. Breathe into that. Back of the occiput, nice little bow on top. Can you keep those primary curves and lift your right foot off the ground? Good. Put it back down. Keep those curves. Don't change those curves. Can you lift your left foot off the ground? Just notice the work and effort it's taking and the difference from side to side. Pull into that core. Bring that foot down. Now, can you lift the whole, not just the foot, but the shin off the ground? It's going to be, I believe the word is perpendicular, so it's going to come straight out from the knee joint. So reach the right leg off, the right foot off the ground, and like a tabletop position in those legs. So keep all 8 points in the back. And then lifts that foot and leg off the sky.
Which foot?
The right one. Good. I'm going to come in. Can you bring it here? Good. Breathe into that. Hold all 8 points. Let that leg come up too. Both legs up. Hold all 8 points. Breathe. Can you let your right heel touch the ground and keep all 8 points? From your hip socket, not just from there. So keep all 8 points. Here. Up, notice how you lost a point. Get that right rib down. Inner thigh squeeze together. There you go. Good, good, good. Here. Good. Now, lift this leg back up again. Here. You feel like the lines of energy we're doing? Okay, keep that. Keep that. Get those points back on the ground. Good job. So what we're going to do here is keep those 8 points, and you're going to go here, here. Feel that? Feel how much work that is to keep all 8 points simultaneously? Squeeze those inner thighs together. Breathe. Breathe. 2 more. And now you can rest both feet down. Good. Why don't we finish it off with what you were doing earlier with making the W with your arms like a goalpost? Good. Keep all 8 points down. Keep all 8 points down.
That was hardcore.
So, right shoulder, left ribs, right hip. Left shoulder, right ribs, left hip. Breathe into that. Try to keep all of those 8 points down with the back of the occiput and slide those hands up. Try to keep all those 8 points, all those 8 points. Yep, it doesn't matter how fast we go, it matters how capable we are of the slow movement. We're getting all those little nerve endings to fire up. We're getting the muscle fibers to fire up. We're getting the connective tissue to be re-educated. Yeah, pause when you can't go any further, when you think you're going to lose control. Anytime you think you are going to lose a point of connection, pause, take a breath, and then see if your body will give you permission. Keep going, you got this. I can see it, it's beautiful. Very different than how you were doing it before, right? Yeah. Breathe into that. Ah, good, 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 good. I can feel the frustration, but I can see the change. Yep, so you can slide those hands a little bit more. Yes, notice how you really got to work on those lower ribs to keep that slide. Yep, so I would keep that as your point of attention in this. Wherever you're finding where it wants to lift the most, keep that point of attention focused even more in order to make the change. Another breath here. Good. When you're ready, you relax. The posture I'm looking at is completely different than the original posture. When you actually stand up, which is, there is no rush in standing up, nor do I ask of you to do so. I want you to stay where you are. But when you do stand up, I want people to know that in a standing position, those primary curves are meant to be connected in our stance. Those are also the primary curves when you're holding like a plank pose, right? How often we do core activity and allow our lower ribs to lift off the ground, which is one of the leading causes of having a hernia in the abdominals. Good. Breathe into that. And I'm going to thank the people for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. And I hope you practice this at home.